What's happening? Happy hump day to you and yours. Thanks for joining me. As always, before we get started, don't forget to like this podcast. Give us a thumbs up on YouTube. Don't forget to throw a comment in as well. Watching live, throw a comment in. Watching on demand, throw a comment in. Help us out. Get to 3,500 subscribers as well. Just about 100 followers, subscribers away from hitting 3,500. That number would mean an awful lot. Get in there before we kick off the season. So like, comment, subscribe, of course, rate and review my friends at Spotify and Apple Pods. Before we get to the practice notes today, and there are a few things that happen at practice today that we need to discuss. But before we get to the practice itself, let's talk about Jerod Mayo. Mayo spoke with reporters this morning. He had a lot to say. He had a lot to say about the quarterback situation. Let's start here. Mayo told the media today that Drake Maye is 100% ready, quote unquote, 100% ready to run the huddle from an operational standpoint. Mayo telling the media, as far as getting in and out of the huddle, running the operation, Drake Maye is 100% ready. If true, if that is true, that is a big old check mark for Drake Maye. Drake Maye never ran a huddle at UNC. Might sound weird, but if you've watched college football before, you know. A lot of offenses, they don't get into a huddle and out of a huddle. They look to the sidelines. They do what they got to do, right? They get the call from the sideline. The entire offense looks over. They know what the call is. They're ready to go. Running the operation, getting into a huddle, out of a huddle, it's not rocket science, but for Drake Maye, who has not done that for years at UNC, it is a step in the right direction. It's one of those things that we look at that we're waiting to see if they do check that box, because if they do check the box, it tells us that away from just his physical skill and his physical traits, he's learning the game of football, he's figuring it out at the NFL level, and he is capable of doing some of those leadership type things already. So running the operation, being 100% ready to run that operation is a nice step for Drake Maye. It's one less mental hurdle that he has to jump over, right? We all trust his physical skills. I don't think there's much doubt about Maye's ability as far as throwing the football, his athleticism, those things we've talked about. We've talked about those things ad nauseum. For Maye to be the starting quarterback for this franchise, he needs to figure the other stuff out. On the field, physically, it's footwork, it's fundamentals, which he has progressed in doing. We've talked about that. And then you also look at the mental part of the game. What does he have to do that doesn't have to do with throwing the football, dropping back, reading progressions and all of that? In and out of the huddle efficiently, communicating to the guys in that huddle. That's one of those boxes that he has needed to check. And if Mayo is being truthful, which I don't know why he'd go out there and lie, if he's being honest with us and he's telling us that Drake Maye can no doubt run the huddle and run the operation, that's a great thing to hear, because that's one less excuse that will get in the way of Maye starting a football game sooner rather than later. Not rushing him. I don't think there's extreme urgency here to get him on the field ASAP. But at least we see these boxes and they're being checked. Some boxes were checked against Philadelphia last week in the preseason game. More boxes checked today, according to the head coach. And really, when you can run that huddle, when you can run that operation, you are gaining the confidence from your teammates. The guys look at you, right? They're in the huddle. They look to you, and they believe that you know what you're doing. You know what you're saying with conviction, and you know what to do and how to do it. I mean, imagine you get into the huddle and you're looking at your rookie quarterback and he's humming, trying to get through plays. That's not what you want to see. It's not what you want to hear if you're an NFL veteran. So check that box for Drake Maye. It's a nice step for the rookie. Jerod Mayo on the quarterback competition today. He called it an open competition, but he did say that Jacoby Brissett is the current QB1. Here's a Mark Daniels post. Mayo on the Patriots' ongoing quarterback competition. Quote, anyone can see the confidence growing in Drake. Anyone can see Jacoby go out here and as a total body of work do a good job. We'll see how it goes, unquote. I'm not surprised. I'm not surprised that Mayo has told us that Jacoby Brissett, as of right now, August 21st, 4:05 Eastern, Brissett is QB1. It's been obvious if you watch practice. I talked about this somewhat on Monday. Jacoby Brissett is getting the reps with the ones. Now, some of that changed today. We'll get to that later on when we talk about the actual practice. But Mayo saying that Brissett is QB1, he's the starting quarterback for this football team right now, that should not surprise anybody. He's getting reps with the ones, the amount of reps that he's getting. He's the first guy to lead the 2-minute drill. He is being handled as the leader in the clubhouse for that position. That's how it's gone. That's what he's been doing. So this should surprise absolutely no one that right now Brissett is seen as the top quarterback. He's at the top of that depth chart. It is not an open competition today to me, heading into today, because you had Drake Maye running with the twos. And until Drake Maye gets snaps with the ones, again, more on that a little bit later, heading into today's practice, he had not taken many snaps. He took a couple of snaps with David Andrews. He obviously took snaps in the preseason game with some of the starting offensive line, not David Andrews. But the vast majority of the snaps with the ones was going to Brissett. And until Maye starts to chop down on those reps with those ones, it is what it is. Another telltale sign that Brissett is QB1 right now is during practice this week, as they prepare for Washington on Sunday night, they're starting to read off of cards. Now, what does that mean? Well, you have cards, you read off of plays, it's preparation, you see what Washington has done, you've done some film work, and so you're going off the cards as far as the play calls go. And Brissett was really the guy that was exclusively working off of those cards, which again tells you he's the guy. Maye is not the guy as of right now. A lot more on this, a lot more on what Jerod Mayo had to say. I remind you one more time, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and on Spotify, Apple Pods, rate and review. Jerod Mayo talking about how the quarterback position is going to be handled on Sunday night against Washington. Mayo said all four quarterbacks will play. So we will see on Sunday night, Jacoby Brissett, Drake Maye, Joe Milton, and Bailey Zappi. All four of those guys will play in the preseason finale. But Mayo did say that the playing time for those four individuals will be, quote, a little different, unquote, than last week. So what does that mean? I don't know what it means. We know what happened last week. Last week, Brissett, he got, the first quarter. Drake Maye got the second and third quarter. Joe Milton got most of the fourth quarter. Zappi went in there late to run the offense. And Liam Fornadell snapped the football into the ground. Game was over. That's how they handled the quarterbacks last week. Brissett for a quarter, Maye for 2 quarters, Milton for, let's say, 3/4 of the fourth quarter, and then Zappi wrapping it up in the end. So all four guys are going to play on Sunday night, but it's going to be a little bit different as far as how much those guys are going to play. So there are some questions, right? Does Jacoby Brissett play less than a quarter? Does he go out there and play 1 series? Does he play 2 series? How much does Brissett actually play on Sunday night? Which leads us to, what do you do with Maye? Does Maye actually start? Does Maye play a quarter? Does Maye play 2 quarters? Does Maye play the rest of the game? No, of course not, because we know Milton and Zappi are going to play. And if you're going to respect those 2 guys in their final shot in the preseason, I don't think you're just going to throw both of them in for like 1 series. So how much is Maye going to play? How much is Brissett going to play? If Brissett is going to play, which Mayo told us, it's hard to believe that Brissett is going to come in second. Now, you could have that conversation with Jacoby. I think Jacoby would actually handle it professionally. But if you start Brissett on Sunday night, I think a lot of people will take from that Brissett is the starting quarterback. If you start Drake Maye on Sunday night, now you start to think about, wait a minute, a little bit of gas on that fire, right? a little bit of gas on the fire, because if Maye starts over Brissett and Brissett is the second quarterback that comes in, does that tell us that there's been a major shift? And does the coaching staff want you to believe that there's a major shift? So it's hard for me to believe that Maye will start the game on Sunday night, which inevitably leads to the question, how much will Maye play? Is he going to play one quarter? Is he going to play 2 quarters and they just split the fourth quarter? Do you go with Jacoby Brissett for one series and then Drake Maye comes in through halftime and gets the first drive in the third quarter? Then Milton takes over. Then Zappe gets the fourth. All different options here for the coaching staff. And they've obviously had conversations. They know how they want to handle it. They have a quote-unquote plan. But if Maye is the second quarterback in, which I would anticipate being the case, does he get a full quarter under his belt? Or do they handle that a little bit differently? How much does Joe Milton play? Is this a true battle for the third quarterback spot? Coaching staff knows. We don't know. I can tell you, I was at practice on Monday, couldn't get there today because they swapped schedules and it was 1 p.m. today for the practice. But I was out there on Monday, and what I can tell you is Bailey Zappe hardly got a snap. So if you're going off of what you see at practice, the depth chart is Brissett, Maye, Milton, and then Zappe. Does that change up on Sunday night? Is this a legitimate competition for that third spot at the quarterback position? And if it is, are you going to carry 3 quarterbacks or 4 quarterbacks? I know Alex Barth, my buddy, said he has on his roster the Patriots carrying 4 quarterbacks. I don't think the Pats will carry 4 quarterbacks. I think they've got too many other questions with this roster. They've got too many depth issues that they got to deal with. I just don't think they'll carry all 4 quarterbacks going into week 1 at Cincinnati. So is this a legitimate competition for that third quarterback spot? If it is, are they going to try to split the time? Do they say, hey, Brissett's going to get the first series and then Maye will come in, and then at halftime we'll give Milton a quarter, Zappe a quarter. Whoever plays better on Sunday night gets that third quarterback job. Your guess is as good as mine, but I will give you my guess in just a minute. First, let's go to William Sprague with a $5 super chat. Thank you, William. Nick, what does Scott Peters see in Lowe at left tackle that I don't see? In my opinion, Wallace was better when he was working there with the starter. So a couple things here, William. Number one, people will tell you that Vidarian Lowe has actually played better as of late. I watched on Thursday night. I saw the false start. I saw the 2 pressures he gave up. I'm not the biggest fan of Lowe, but I will also humbly say that I don't know everything. And I can't sit here and break down offensive line play. The guys who can do that in this market, who do a good job of it, Evan Lazar, Greg Bedard, Taylor Kyles, all 3 of those gentlemen have said that Vidarian Lowe has taken a step forward recently, that he's looked better. Doesn't look great, but has not been a disaster, and that it looks like he's picking up the coaching from Peters, and there have been improvements in his technique. As far as the technique goes, Evan can tell you all about the punch and different things and sliding the feet. It's not my forte. I'm not going to sit here and try to break down offensive line play for you. I see what I see. I write down results. I feel how I feel. But guys that are paying closer attention to that and are really, breaking down offensive line play, all 3 of them say that Lowe has done a better job and he's improving. And Elliott Wolf said that on Sunday. Now, there was something that happened with Vidarian Lowe at practice today. We'll get to that in a little bit. But that's what my answer would be about Vidarian Lowe, is they feel that he's improving. Some of the smartest guys on the beat that break down offensive line play, they also agree that Vidarian Lowe is improving. So they're standing by him for now. All right, so what do I think is going to happen on Sunday night with the quarterbacks? How will these guys play? What will their playing time look like? Here's my guess. I think Brissett gets 1 series. Brissett gets 1 series with the ones, then he's out. Then I think Maye will get at least 2 series, if not 3 series, with the entire starting unit. I believe that Sunday night is the night. This coaching staff is going to give Maye the opportunity to have at least 2, if not 3 series with the starting offensive line, the receivers that are out there. Hunter Henry was, again, not at practice today. He was there with sweats on. He was not participating. But I think you'll see Maye out there with Austin Hooper and, the starting wide receivers. As of right now, the starting wide receivers that have been out there, Tyquan Thornton, Jalen Polk, and Pop Douglas. Is that going to change? We'll have to see. But my guess is that Brissett gets 1 series, and then Maye will get 2 to 3 series with the number ones. And it'll be time for Drake Maye to sink or swim on Sunday night. What does he show us during those 2 to 3 series with those starters? Does he take another step towards the progression? Does he get better than what he looked like on Thursday against the Eagles, which was pretty good, all things considered? Does he look even better? Does he put more pressure on the coaching staff? Are we sitting here on Monday talking about, man, oh man, Maye was given more reps, more snaps with the ones. He looked even better last night than he looked against Philadelphia. Watch out. But I think that's what they're going to do. I think Brissett will get 1 series. He's out. Then they're going to give Maye his opportunity. The door is open. Young man, you've got to walk through that door and take advantage of the opportunity. We're giving you the chance here. You're going to get your 2 or 3 series with the ones, and now tell us, force us into a decision to make you the guy by week 1. As far as Milton and Zappi, I think they split the 3rd and the 4th. So Brissett likely gets the first drive, see how he does. Then he's out. Maye gets you to halftime. And then in the second half, you give Milton a quarter, you give Zappi a quarter. Whoever plays better is leading in the clubhouse for the 3rd spot. That's what I think is going to happen. Jerod Mayo wasn't done talking. Don't forget, give us that thumbs up. More thumbs means more eyeballs. That's the only way we get traffic to this program. We have to beat the algorithm. I hate asking for it multiple times during this show, but I've got to. More likes, more comments means more eyeballs, more traffic. We build this community. If you want us to be a different voice out there, that's how we do it. Like, comment, subscribe, rate, and review. As far as when the Patriots will actually make the decision, because some of you might be sitting there going, when are they going to make this call? We saw today that Bo Nix is going to be the starting quarterback for the Broncos. Over the weekend, Jaden Daniels going to be the starting quarterback for Washington. Caleb Williams going to be the starting quarterback for Chicago. It's like Marissa Tomei, my cousin Vinny. The biological clock is ticking. The quarterback clock is ticking. When are we going to get this announcement? When are we going to know who is actually going to start against Cincinnati? Mayo told the media today, this is according to Andrew Callahan in a post, he says that first, as far as who will decide QB1 and QB2, who makes that call, Mayo said it's going to be a joint decision. So again, we have this idea of collaboration. We're going to collaborate. We're going to make that call. So Mayo says it will be a joint decision between himself, Van Pelt, Wolf, and the rest of the staff. Mayo then said they've largely seen the competition the same way so far. So according to Mayo, it's going to be a collaborative decision on who is legitimately QB1 for that Cincinnati game in week 1. Also, according to Mayo, so far, everybody has pretty much agreed, which tells us so far, everybody in that room, whether it's Wolf, Mayo, AVP, I'm sure Ben McAdoo is involved. I'm sure TC McCartney is involved. Whoever is in that room, everybody has pretty much seen this the same way, which tells us everybody agrees that Brissett has earned the right up to this point to be treated as QB1. When will the decision be made? Evan Lazar posted that Jerod Mayo told the media that the decision on the starting quarterback will be made by Monday or Tuesday of next week. So they're not going to drag this thing out until, the very, very end. By the way, the Patriots just released Mike Purcell, defensive tackle. He was picked up a couple of weeks ago. He is gone. So Mike Purcell out. Defensive tackle depth. We'll see how it goes. That just broke a moment ago. But the decision is going to be made by Monday or Tuesday. Now, Mayo said that they might not announce it to the world Monday or Tuesday, but they will make the decision. Now, what's interesting here is that practice this week is the last week of practice that the media can watch. Now, we weren't supposed to watch this week, but the Patriots, they opened up practice for the media this week. The million-dollar question is, will the team open up next week practice? Will those practices be seen by the media? Will they be open to the media? How much of that will actually be shown, right? I mean, there's an easy way to say we're going to open practice up to the media, and you show them like a 45 minutes to an hour. Then you send the media home. Then you go out there, you do some other things that the media is not watching. So they can play some games. There's been some rumors that they could actually have the media at practice next week. If they do have the media at practice next week and they don't come out and formally announce who the quarterback is, are they going to screw around when the media is there, juggling snaps and juggling reps with May and Brissett? Who knows? But Mayo said today that the organization, the guys that are in that room making that decision about who's going to start in week one, those guys are going to make that decision by Monday or Tuesday. So you get the game on Sunday night, you get in the room, you make that decision by Monday or Tuesday. I think Van Pelt should have top say. Former quarterback in the league, well-respected quarterbacks coach, the offensive coordinator, the head coach of the offense. I think he should get the call. Now, many would say, oh, whoa. Mayo should get the call because he's the head coach. If Van Pelt is truly the head coach of the offense and he's running that side of the football, then Van Pelt should have the call. Now, if you want to say he should strongly suggest that May's the guy, however you want to play the semantics game. But I think AVP should be the first voice in that room. This is how I feel. This is what I've seen. And this is how we have interacted, where I think that May might fall a little bit short or he might be ready. I would have Van Pelt be the lead voice in that room. And even if you don't want Van Pelt to make the call and you want Mayo to make the call, well, at least you'll have AVP be the first dude in the room to have, his opinion heard. I think Elliott Wolf will be more of the big picture view, right? He has to think about what's happening right now, what's happening a month from now, what could happen throughout this season. So I think Elliott Wolf will get the bigger picture view. And maybe I end up being wrong. And if I end up being wrong, then I'll be the first guy to admit it. You know that by now. I have no issue telling you when I'm wrong. But I can't buy the idea that Drake Maye will do enough at tomorrow's practice, Friday's practice, and Sunday night. I just don't believe that Maye will be able to do enough by Monday or Tuesday to win the starting job. I believe Jacoby Brissett will be QB1 if he's healthy. I think he starts the season against Cincinnati in Cincinnati. I do think it's more likely now that Maye starts earlier rather than later this season at some point, whether it's week 5. I know people like Evan Lazar and Barth and others have thrown out week 5 as a possibility. That would make some sense. But I don't think, I don't think Maye, from a common sense standpoint, the way that he's been handled, and we'll get to today's practice and how the quarterbacks were handled. We'll get to Vidarian Lowe, who was dinged up at practice today. I just don't think there's enough time. If they're making this decision by Monday/Tuesday, that means they don't want to kick the can down the road. They don't want to have all of next week's practices figure this out. If they're making this call by Monday or Tuesday, I just don't think Maye has enough time given the way they've handled him this week. I don't think he has enough time to leapfrog Brissett from now until Monday. Could be wrong. But I 100% anticipate Jacoby Brissett starting week 1 for the Patriots. I just can't imagine the way they've handled it, that they're just going to say, oh, Maye's the guy. Also, Jerod Mayo told the media today that Elliott Wolf has final say on the roster. So when it comes to cuts, that's it. Elliott Wolf will be the end-all, be-all. It should be that way. Clear division, right? Clear division of responsibilities. Jerod Mayo coaches the players. Elliott Wolf picks the players, decides which players should make the roster. At least, he'll have a say. The vast majority, I'm sure Jerod Mayo will have the ability to fight back and say, this is who I like. And I don't think that Elliott Wolf will tell the head coach, sorry, we're not going to keep that guy on the roster, coach. But I think Mayo is giving the love to Elliott Wolf here, and he's giving the responsibility to the guy that has the responsibility, the evaluation guy, right? The guy who's bringing the people onto this team. So give somebody the accountability. Elliott Wolf has that accountability. He has the responsibility to make the call on this roster. And Mayo will handle, the coaching staff will handle the 53 that are picked and that are left. All right, we'll get to today's practice in a minute. Throw that thumb up. Takes like a second of your time, doesn't cost you anything, and it helps us out tremendously. Like, comment, subscribe. Make sure you drop a comment in. Maybe you like what we do. Maybe you hate what we do. Just throw a comment in. Either way, it helps us. Subscribe. Trying to hit 3,500 subscribers. If you're watching on Facebook, if you're watching on Twitter, like this post, like this content, like this video. Rate and review Spotify, Apple Pods. All right. Today's practice. Let's start with the quarterbacks before we get to Vidarian Lowe and this injury that happened to the offensive lineman just a couple of hours ago on the practice field. There was some slight movement. I underline slight. There was some slight movement with Drake Maye today. Andrew Callahan posted. Brissett was QB1 in a regular season style practice, but in all caps, Drake Maye took his first live reps with all starters. He saw 3 snaps to Brissett's 18. Now, Callahan had Maye taking 3 snaps. Other people had him taking 4 snaps. Let's just call it a handful. So Brissett was out there. He was QB1. He got 18 snaps with the ones, with the starters. But for the first time, first live reps with all of the starters for Drake Maye today. That is a step forward. That is a different way of approaching practice, compared to the prior practices. Maye got at least a handful of snaps with all of the starters. So he finally broke through. He broke through that glass ceiling of getting some snaps with the starters. It's happening much later. It's happening much later than I expected, I had hoped for, but it's happening. It happened today. Andrew Callahan. Most team drills were starters versus scout team. Maye took more total reps than Brissett in 11-on-11s and had a better passing day. So again, according to reports, Drake Maye outplayed Jacoby Brissett at practice. I think that's 4 out of the last 5 practices that you could say Maye played better than Brissett. Thursday's preseason game against the Eagles, Maye played better than Brissett. Does this continue? But Callahan said Maye had a better passing day. Mark Daniels, Mass Live, he tweeted, plays were read off cards. We mentioned that earlier. Pats preparing for Washington, slower pace. Brissett should have had 2 interceptions, but 1 was dropped. So Brissett he should have had 2 picks. One of them for him, fortunately, was dropped. So Drake Maye, better than Jacoby Brissett at today's practice. Simple. That's what's being reported. The rookie was better today. And maybe we should pay attention more to the fact that this was another bad day for Brissett. And these bad days are stacking up. I was there at practice on Monday. They did not practice yesterday. So what I saw on Monday was a better Brissett. I wouldn't say he was better than Maye. It was pretty even. But Brissett had a pretty good day, had some good throws, had the throw of the day downfield to Tyquan Thornton, who made a nice catch. It's about a 40-yard play downfield on the sideline, the left sideline. It was a great throw, and it was a great catch. But you start looking at these practices now, You start with that Philadelphia preseason game. Rookie was better. Over the weekend, the practices, rookie was better. Monday, it was even. Today, rookie was better. Brissett is falling back. Maye is taking steps forward. That's what this has looked like. Not telling you that Maye's ready to start week one or he should start week one. I'm just telling you, over the last handful of practices, Maye has been the better quarterback. And that's not good for Brissett. That's not good at all for Brissett. Brissett is supposed to be the steady veteran. He's supposed to be the guy that's out there making the smart decisions. He might not be as physically talented. I think all of us, we look at it, we say, hey, man, there's no doubt that Maye is the better quarterback as far as talent goes. They were expecting Brissett to kind of hold this down until Maye was completely ready. Now, if Maye is not completely ready because he's still a little shaky under center, 2-minute drill, most importantly, they're still trying to figure out the offensive line, which I think is a big part of this. If you're not quite ready to throw him out there yet, play Brissett anyway. And if he stinks, he stinks. And you kind of just live with it. And then when Maye's ready, you put the rookie in, or the offensive line is ready But this is not good. This is not good for Brissett. He is struggling the last week or two. I mean, he struggled leading into the joint practice. He was awful at the joint practice. He was awful in that preseason game. He was not good over this past weekend. Again, he was okay on Monday, pretty even with Maye, but today was a bad day. And as Maye is stacking good days, Brissett is stacking bad days. One's going up, the other's going down. It's like they're like elevators next to each other. And one's going up, other one's going down. And yes, Burley, that was a Namath reference. 2 more practices before the Washington game. Here's my question. I don't think it's going to happen. If you asked me, I'd say it's not going to happen. But because of one going up and one going down, right? Because it's going like this. Was today the beginning of this coaching staff getting to a practice where you go 50-50, right down the middle? Is Drake Maye going to go out there tomorrow, and are they going to go 50-50 with the snaps, with the ones? Or instead of Brissett getting 18 snaps and Maye getting a handful of snaps, tomorrow will we see Maye get 10 snaps and Brissett get 13 or 14 snaps, and we start to see this tightening? That's what I think should happen. But I don't think it's going to happen. I would be getting closer to a 50-50 split. I said it after the Philly preseason game. I want this quarterback competition to be a legitimate quarterback competition. And if you're telling me it's a legitimate quarterback competition, then you're splitting reps. It's mano a mano. Let's freaking go, right? Guy gets a series, next dude comes in, gets the next series with the ones. That's what we should be seeing. Milton gets the reps with the twos. At least do that for a practice or two. So are we getting closer to that? Are we finally getting closer to that moment after today's practice where you saw Maye get a handful of snaps with the starters? Do we start to see now that 50-50 split at the quarterback position going into Sunday night? I don't think it's going to happen. I would like to see it happen. I believe that Maye should absolutely be at a 50-50 split with the starters. Jacoby Brissett has not done enough to keep his job. I said it after the Eagles preseason game. I said it on Monday. I'll say it again today. Brissett is not doing enough to be given the keys. He needs to earn the keys, and he's not doing that. He has not been good enough the last couple of weeks. You got to earn it. If you want to sit there and talk about competition, you want to talk about culture, you got to make sure these guys are earning jobs. And Brissett has not earned the starting job. And Maye is making a push. Maye is showing signs. All right, let's get to Vidarian Lowe. He left practice early today. That's according to Doug Kyde. Mike Reese tweeted out that Lowe walked off under his own power as he put his hand on his side / lower back before leaving. Greg Bedard described it as a torso injury. Kyde said that Caden Wallace got an extended look at left tackle after Lowe walked off with trainers. I'll get to the offensive line thoughts in a minute, but Terry comes in once again. Unbelievable $50 super chat to the show. Let's support Nick and his fresh Patriots takes. Thank you, Terry. I say it all the time, and I'll keep saying it every time you send a super chat. And whoever sends a super chat, I appreciate every single penny that you guys decide to spend on this program to help me out financially. It's how I continue to survive. It's a mountain that we're trying to climb that mountain together. And every little thing helps. The thumbs up, the comments, the subscriptions, and the super chats like Terry. I can't thank you enough. You have supported this show from day one, being here, and especially financially. Thank you so much. Means a lot to me that you spend that hard-earned money. I appreciate you, Terry. So let's get to this offensive line stuff here for a minute. Tackle depth is a problem right now. Calvin Anderson has missed the last few practices. And when Anderson has been out there, he hasn't been good. Vidarian Lowe, we talked about him earlier. People that know offensive line play better than I know offensive line play will tell you that Lowe has improved. He's gotten better. And obviously the team feels that way because he was on that starting offensive line going on 2 to 3 weeks at this point. But now he leaves with some kind of upper body, torso, back injury deal. Who knows how serious it is? We talked about it on, I think it was Monday. We talked about the fact that the Patriots were one of those teams that let Dennis Daly know that they're interested in him. Dennis Daly's an interesting guy. He played every game, if I recall correctly. I think he played every game as a starter for Tennessee back in 2022 at left tackle. So he was Tennessee's starting left tackle in 2022. And then last year he signed with Arizona. He was banged up pretty much all of last year. It was just a bad luck injury year for him. He's still young. He's like 26, 27. I think he was drafted in 2019. So Dennis Daly's a name to keep an eye on. Starting left tackle for Tennessee in 2022. Signed by Arizona last year. Had some injury issues this year. More of a roster crunch than anything else. And he's going to get cut by Arizona. He's out there. So he's got tackle experience. He also has guard experience. So he's somebody who can go from guard to tackle. At worst, maybe he could end up being your swing tackle. So Dennis Daly is a name that I keep an eye on. We'll see if they do it. But there was the report yesterday that Chris Price had that the Patriots had inquired about Dennis Daly. So they were already inquiring about Daly, and that was before this Vidarian Lowe injury. So we'll keep an eye on that. The silver lining, of course, to this story is that Caden Wallace got reps at left tackle. And Caden's been pretty good at right tackle. And according to reports, he had a good day of one-on-one drills today. Here's what I'll tell you. And I've tried to be the voice, through all the noise. You all know by now, I'm letting this offensive line unfold and see how it all comes together. I am not freaking out yet. I think they have, 6 or 7 offensive linemen that they're trying to depend on, and they need 4 of those guys. I know there's 5 on the offensive line, but I've said from day one, you can help one of the 5. They need 4 of those guys to be good enough. And what I will tell you is City So on balance has been good. Owenu on balance has been pretty good. Owenu early was great. Last week or two, a little up and down, but I'm not worried about Mike Owenu. David Andrews has been solid. I'd also tell you that Layden Robinson has been one of the best offensive linemen in camp, and he might be leapfrogging City So to a point. Robinson's been really good. He had a good game against Philly last Thursday night, so he's starting to make a push. Caden Wallace has shown flashes, and he has improved. He's looked better. So the two rookie offensive linemen, they've gotten better throughout camp. And I think the Patriots have some options. And we talked about that, right? You could move Layden Robinson to right guard. You could push Owenu out to right tackle. You know, they have some options. Wallace getting some reps at left tackle today. Let's see. You know, does Wallace, if Lowe is healthy enough to get back, does Wallace, take that job from Vidarian Lowe? Because Vidarian Lowe had to leave practice. And with Vidarian Lowe out, if he's out for a long period of time, does this move Owenu to right tackle? And you try a Okorafor versus Wallace at left tackle. Although Greg Bedard, my buddy, we were taping the podcast yesterday, he seemed to hint that Okorafor wasn't a big fan of moving to left tackle, and that's why they sent him back to right tackle. So I don't even know if Okorafor would want to play on the left side after experiencing it early, and apparently wasn't the biggest fan of that. But this could open up the door to some other things. Let's go to JB Brown, Super Chat. Thank you, JB, $5 Super Chat. Reading Greg's thoughts on Chooks. Can't help but wonder if he's a surprise cut candidate. Greg alluded to some Trent Brown tendencies. Yeah, so early on in camp, and this is why I always give you guys the caveats, right? When we talk about camp, this stuff can change. It can change from day to day. It can change from week to week. When you go from no pads to pads, when you start seeing preseason games, it's not like we're in the regular season and we know what we're watching, and then we have time to kind of breathe, and a lot of stuff is fluid. And early in camp, the vibes around Okorafor were good. And the team was seemingly happy with Okorafor. He was playing on the left side. Then all of a sudden, he went back to the right side. And as I said, Greg has kind of, I don't know what he's written today or last night, but doing the podcast yesterday, Greg implied on the pod that Okorafor was not really into the idea of staying on the left side. So that tells me, the team thought he could move to the left side. When they signed him, that was the idea. He had said to the media that he was willing to do it. And then maybe when he got to the left, he gave it a little bit of a hard time, and they had to move him back to the right, which is why you saw him go to the right side. And then they had, okay, now we're going to go Vidarian Lowe to the left side, and we'll move Mike Owenu to the right guard because we just paid Okorafor to be one of our starting offensive linemen. The guy's not happy playing the left tackle spot, so let's throw him at right tackle because that's where he played in Pittsburgh, and that's where he's comfortable, and that's where he wants to play. And, Chooks, again, was benched last year, not because of his play. He was benched because he was overheard, bitching about the offensive coordinator, Matt Canada, and complaining about the play calls. Tomlin heard him complaining, sat him down, and then benched him for the rest of the year. Now, Matt Canada was fired 2 weeks later, so Okorafor ended up being right about Matt Canada, but Okorafor obviously has shown in the past that he's not afraid to speak up and challenge the coaching staff to a point. So we never know what's happening behind closed doors. I always say it. We don't know what we don't know. So if Okorafor is being a problem, we'll see. Now, he's still been out there with the starting offensive line, so I don't think he'll get cut. I think if he was in danger of being cut, he would have been dropped exclusively down to the second offensive line, and they would be trying to figure out right tackle. But he's still out there. When they get out there in practice, the starting five was still Vidarian Lowe, Sidney So, David Andrews, Owenu, and Okorafor. So I wouldn't say he's in danger. Could it happen? Sure. But my read on it, if you ask me today, I don't think he's getting cut. If he's a major pain in the ass behind closed doors and he continues to be an even, bigger pain in the ass, then sure. Again, we got to remember that Mayo and Wolf talked a lot about culture and having everybody on the same page. That's the stuff that we don't know. But what I see on the field and what I see how they're handling him on the field, I don't think he's in danger of being cut. All right, another note, the kicking competition. I officially jinxed Chad Ryland. And I apologize 1,000 times, Mr. Ryland. I jinxed you because I went out there and said that, oh, my God, Chad Ryland is making kicks. He's actually making kicks. I think since I've said that, Ryland's missed like 70% of his freaking kicks. So today, the kicking competition, the Cattle's jinx is official. Joey Sly went 4 for 4 on field goals. Chad Ryland went 1 for 4. Whoa. I don't know after the last 2 weeks and what we saw in 2023. I have no idea how Chad Ryland could be on this team. I don't think he's going to be on this team. Unless Joey Sly pulls a muscle, something happens health-wise. I just can't imagine Ryland being the kicker for this football team. He has fallen off a cliff the last 2 weeks. Life of a kicker, right? Last 2 weeks, Ryland's fallen off a cliff. Sly's coming on. He obviously made his kicks on Thursday night, and he has been out kicking Ryland the last 2 weeks. Before then, Ryland had the edge. It wasn't a big edge, but he had the edge. Last 2 weeks, pew, pew. We see the Chad Ryland. You ever see those cartoons with it'd fall off the cliff and they'd fall and you just see like a big like plume of sand, dirt at the bottom of the hill, right? That's what Chad Ryland has done the last week and a half to 2 weeks. It's a big plume. He's been bad. So apologies. If you want to blame somebody, Chad, blame me. I jinxed you. I went out there and said 2 weeks ago that you were making kicks, and then now you can't make a kick if your life depended on it. So I don't know how the guy makes the roster. I don't think he does. I think Sly is the man. Super chat, Roman poll. Just to support Nick and his views. Think they have a plan, and we have to be patient the first weeks of the regular season. Greetings from Germany. Love Germany. I want to go to Germany bad. I do. I want to visit Germany really bad. I was supposed to go to Europe pretty much right around this week, but we didn't pull the trigger on it. I want to go to Germany though, for at least a few days. Germany feels like it's my vibe, right? Like craft beer, brats. People seem to be happy. I don't know. I just seeing all that Patriots coverage last year when I went to Germany, I was like incredibly jealous. I'd love to go to Germany for a trip. Thank you, Roman, for the super chat. It is very much appreciated, my friend. Thank you so much. All right, that'll do it. Like, comment, subscribe. Don't forget to like and comment. Help that algorithm beat it into submission. Subscribe, get to 3,500. That's the goal before the season kicks off. Rate and review, Spotify, Apple Pods. Back on Friday at 4 p.m. Eastern. We'll preview the final preseason game coming up on Sunday night. Until then, this has been the Nick